Welcome into the Inquirer podcast. It's Jeremy Werner and Derek Piper live in the bowels of Shy Health Center, where we saw the Illini sweat for about 25 minutes, but pull off a first-round victory, 85-69 over number 14 seed Morehead State. Illinois advances to the second round, where they will play another double-digit seed as Duquesne pulls off the upset and beats number 6 seed BYU. So Illinois one step away from that elusive Sweet 16. We got a big game to talk about. Dane Danger. We had Sincere Harris singing Highway to the Danger Zone in the locker room as Danger boosts the Illini 17 of his 21 points in the second half. Boy, he's been good in the postseason, Derek. Shannon dominated the first half, really kept Illinois in that, got them into the game after Illinois gets behind 9-0 to start the game. Continues to be a little bit of an issue. And Marcus Domask did not start this game very well, at least scoring the ball, but ends up the 10th player in NCAA tournament history to get a triple-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists to 2 turnovers today. I just saw on Twitter the last 2 players to get a triple-double in the NCAA tournament, Derek, John Morant and Draymond Green. Pretty good company for Marcus Domask. But let's start here, Derek. Illinois was down 2 with about 15 minutes to go. They were down 9-0 in the first half, 19-13 at one point in the first half. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous were you for Illinois in this game?
I'll go a solid 6. I think that there was still obviously a lot of time, but they just seemed to be making too many mistakes. Defensively, gambles were giving up open shots, like guys lunging out and trying to get some steals or getting caught up in some screens. And unfortunately, as you saw it, like Morehead has some offensive talent. Riley Minix is a good player, OVC player of the year, and Drew Thelwell from three-point shooter type, Jordan Lathan. They got guys that can score it, and you let this team get confidence right from the early going, like you mentioned. And I wrote it in the preview, like you want to get off to a fast start. You want to try to get some of those jitters out. You want to put the pressure on Morehead State. Before you can blink, it's 9-0 Morehead State, and Illinois is immediately in a hole. And I thought Illinois was tight, especially some guys in particular. Ty Rogers fumbling the ball, and then Quincy Guerrier was somebody that didn't have it, and it was kind of in the Underwood doghouse throughout the game and didn't deserve to play down the stretch. But I still felt like that was enough time. You weren't down. If you would have been down 10 with 15 to go versus 2, probably would have been a different answer, probably been heightened up a little bit more. But I did feel like if Illinois had let Morehead State hang around enough that it was going to be tough to put them away. Now, I didn't know that Dane was going to do that, so I didn't know it was going to be that quick of a switch to have that change the game and go on that run that they did. But still felt decent, but I did start wondering, are we going home already? That popped up in my mind, and I wasn't sure that going into the day that we'd be worried about that.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of teams. Arizona was down to Long Beach State late in that first half. Like, the jitters are real, man. Like, that's why I was more nervous about this game, to be honest with you, than a second round matchup with either BYU or Duquesne, just because you get here and you might not play well to start, and then you get tight. And I thought we saw that with Quincy Guerrier and Ty Rogers. But, man, Terrence Shannon Jr. just had that look in his eye again, Derek, just like he did in the Big Ten tournament, to keep you so close, to get you right back into the game. You're down 9-0. He scores right away. It's like, okay, settle in, breathe in. And I thought a guy like Luke Goody came in and really calmed you down. Just took a 3 in rhythm, all the confidence in the world. The guy who's been in these situations before drills it. Your bench obviously was huge today. But, yeah, like, you're waiting. Shannon's maybe settling for some threes. You're not running maybe as good as stuff, and you're just not defending all that well. And Morehead State was playing well, but then Dain Danger just goes on that absolute tear. So let's talk about that. A career performance for a guy that 6 weeks ago, Derek, was getting 2 minutes, 5 minutes a game for Illinois. He's on the fringe of the rotation, just didn't really fit what this team needed. He's been massive in 3 postseason wins already for Illinois. Do you win without him tonight? I'm not sure. Maybe you still do, but he put them away. 13 of the 16 points, I believe, during a 16-3 run for Illinois. 17 points in the second half. 8 defensive rebounds. Was phenomenal on defense. Had 2 blocks. What is Dane Danger giving Illinois? Why is it different than earlier in the year? And how does he change this team moving forward?
He's playing with a lot of confidence. Obviously, he's got physicality and an ability to impact around the paint, whether it's rebounding, whether it's some shot blocking, which he had today. I thought that once he was in there, especially in the second half, with Coleman and Dain kind of walling up around the paint, that it's tougher for Riley Minix to go in there and score it. So, Coleman's talked about this a lot here in recent weeks. He gives Coleman a chance to kind of play in more of a comfort zone defensively with the matchups he's going to see. He can play on the perimeter and not have to guard post-up fives. Not that Morehead State had one of those. Their 7-footer isn't much of an offensive factor. It's Minix at the 4, sometimes small ball 5 that is really a guy that they play through a lot. And then something beyond that, the way we thought of Dain is, you throw it into the post to him. He can score it. Sometimes he is going to turn it over a lot. I think you're seeing less of those as far as turnovers. But I think that also now it's his energy. I mean, he's running the floor. He's playing with activity defensively. Those are some things that have really changed. So that's been great to see. It slides Coleman to the 4. He's been a lot more impactful of late than what Quincy's done. So I think that's a huge deal. And it really – I felt like Morehead's game plan early on defensively was working out for them, where they wanted to double Damask and then force Coleman to kind of make some plays off the bounce. And, of course, they wanted to limit Terrence as much as possible, which was a tough task for anybody. But with Dain out there, it kind of altered their focus. It wasn't just, if we take Marcus away, then maybe Terrence doesn't have enough around him. It was another easy way to get some points. And, I mean, Dain's just facing dudes up and spinning off. And I mean, he's at that size, he's a rarity with just the way that he can move and the way he can finish left, right, and he kind of plays. I mean, he can look like he's on an and one mixtape sometimes. They call him a dancing bear for a reason. So he had the moves working, and he keeps Illinois dancing as they move on to the second round.
Well done. Well done. Cap tip on that one. 9 of 9 from the floor. And you're right, Derek. It wasn't like a lot of post entry to Dain, let Dain back down, because that's like when he gets in trouble sometimes. But I just feel like he's got a better feel. And sometimes they got him in the middle of the court, and he broke down a defender one-on-one. He's got that handle, especially when it's a bigger guy that they can't, kind of reach in there and steal it from him. I thought he did that well. But a lot of those buckets, man, were just hustle plays, putbacks, rim runs, running the court. And I thought that's the energy of Dane Danger on both ends of the court. The focus on defense has been much improved. So I'm sure there's a lot of Illini fans saying, like, why didn't they play him more early in the season? I think Coleman sounds like he likes playing alongside Dain because it gets him in that natural spot. I still feel, Derek, there's going to be certain games that maybe it's not Dain time. And we saw that against Nebraska, right? But the fact that you can go to him is huge. So, but they're going to him more. That's for sure. You have to with the way he's playing.
Right. Yeah. Good point on Nebraska. If you're going to double the post, it's something that does make you think. If you're going to double the post as an opponent, then also, to have Rink Mass as your 5-man is going to stretch it out. Then you wonder about the matchups with Dain. But it is something that I think that he's forcing Underwood's hand a little bit here to ride with it a little bit more. And he spoke to that some after the game. And Coleman's pushing that button. I think continuously advocating for him because I think it helps Coleman play more how he wants to play. And that tandem's working right now. So, and I thought that Brad made a good point as far as one of the things you wondered about when Dain was in earlier in the year is, all right, maybe he takes away from what we run offensively. Maybe he takes just a bunch of post touches, then we're not playing through Damask. We're not playing through Terrence. He said it's not just entirely high usage Dain, or it's not throw it on the block to him every time. It's he can play as kind of a secondary option as a rebounder, or like you said, if you catch him in the middle of the floor to make a move. And I think that it is something that Illinois looking forward is going to want to use him, and he deserves it for sure. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and he's getting rewarded for persistence, where it's been very easy to check out and get in his emotions and be eyeing the portal when he played back-to-back games, just 2 minutes. And really, only averaged 8 minutes a game in Big Ten play compared to 22 the previous year. So it'd be hard for a lot of people to stay the course in that circumstance, but to his credit, he has.
A lot of kids would be thinking about the transfer portal there, right? Like a lot of kids would be thinking about that, focusing on that, being pissed off at the coaching staff and just pouting and all of that. maybe he's pissed off. I'm sure he's pissed off about not playing, but he's used it as fuel. We talked about him that he's used it as fuel to get better. Ask the coaching staff, what do I got to do to play? And they talked to him a lot about defense, effort, intensity on the glass, and he's a plus 27 on the court tonight. just ridiculous. And you needed it with Quincy Guerrier. We thought it wouldn't be his night. Like, I just didn't like the matchup here with Riley Minix on the court. I just didn't think this team, with what they run offensively, was his kind of matchup here. But he didn't have it tonight. Ty Rodgers didn't have it tonight, so you needed somebody to make that impact, and Dane Danger certainly did. Anything else on Dane before we switch over to some other guys?
No, I think it's a guy that, I think the teammates just love him. They're all saying how much. I was talking to Amani, and Amani's like, yeah, he was the same dude in practice. He'd keep showing up, and the same guy. And like you talked about, sincere singing the Danger Zone praises and whatnot. So it's just good to see. He's got a pretty cool, infectious smile, and his reaction after running the court and getting that dunk it's fun. It's fun to see a guy get rewarded for that, and I think also it puts perspective. I know we'll dive into more of the bench pieces, but Dain was a Baylor commit, a former top 50 guy when he pledged, and ended up being like a top 100. Luke Goody, 4-star wing. Draven Gibbs Lawhorn, a former top 50 guy. Like, there's talent on that bench. Like, that is not the same for a lot of different teams out there. So when you're pivoting to Dain, when you're pivoting to some of these other guys, you're still going to some talented options, and it's nice with Dain. And I think Luke was also a guy that changed the game today too. Those are some vets who have been in some moments too. So they didn't look out of sorts or starstruck or what have you. But I think Dain obviously was the biggest game changer, but some of those other guys really made an impact as well.
Yeah, against 37-3, your bench outscored Morehead State. So that's the difference in the game, and gave Shannon the support that he needed tonight. All right, let's talk about Luke Goody. Great effort tonight. Just hit threes, man. 3 of 4 from 3. The team shot 12 for 26 from 3 today. That'll work. But Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, let's get into him. Great performance in that first half. Illinois needed to spark anything. They needed some defense, and he came in, gave some on-the-ball activity, Derek. And then to hit 2 threes like that, catch and shoot opportunities, not force off the dribble ones. I thought you saw some maturity from Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. You saw the flashes of what he's able to do. He ain't scared, Derek. Big Ten tournament, he played. This game, he played a role. The bright lights, the big stage, he was unafraid so far. That's really encouraging, and it seems like he's gotten word from the coaching staff about what he needs to do to get on the court. Don't foul on defense, give the energy, and don't force the offense. Let it come to you.
Right, and yeah, he was comfortable in those catch and shoots from the corner, and it's crazy that a guy that those jumpers have been shots that he has struggled to make all year long, and he's a talented scorer. He's a guy that's put up a lot of points in his previous stops in basketball, but he just has not had that rolling this year, and makes a 3 for the first time since the Indiana game at home, which that was a big 3 when Illinois was on just a disastrous drought on their home court, and that was able to be a big play to get them out of a funk and allow them to do enough to win that game. And to make 2 big 3s late in the first half were huge. But also, I agree with you. I think that, and I've always liked his intensity on defense. It's just using the hands and not fouling too much and being able to stay out there. So I think that's something that he gives you a grit. He gives you an energy. And if he can make some shots, that's a huge bonus. But it does tell you a little bit about the mental makeup of a competitor to come out here where the lights are brightest, where the pressure's on the most. You've got veterans that, Ty looked a little jittery, and maybe Quincy was. I know that he's kind of been up and down, and we've wondered about him in general, but this stage does mess with some people. It didn't seem to mess with Dre. It actually just gave him even more of a motivation and brought out the best that we've seen for the most part this season.
The other guy that's played well on this stage is Luke Goody. Remember his freshman year comes in, they need RJ Melendez and Luke Goody to give him a spark. And I thought that was really encouraging. Was that against Houston, I believe? And then, the last year, I can't remember exactly what he did, but today I just thought he was a calming influence. I thought he gave great effort on the glass. Brad really complimented his defense, which when he was on the court, plus 27, Derek. So he was doing something right and played a lot in the second half as Quincy wasn't giving you much. So Luke Goody's come up with some big postseason games here. And as you said, like this bench has been an X factor for them. And it really helps when Coleman, I thought, was good today, but when you don't have Quincy and Ty, you got other guys you can turn to.
I know Joey's going to write it. I don't want to steal the line, but I actually am going to say it. Luke, yesterday when he was shooting in front of us, man, he made a couple of threes, and he's like, I love this gym. And Joey's like, I'm going to file that away, smart on our guy here, to write that on the notepad. But it looked like it. It looked like it out there today. Shot it with confidence. Came off the hand smooth as it usually always does. And I even thought I thought at the Big Ten tournament. I almost sounded like a guy from the East tournament or whatnot. I don't know how to say it, but anyways, his engagement on defense too, his energy. I thought that there were times where he was on mix, and I was like, oh, this could go bad. But he battled him to his credit. He was physical with him, and was the Nebraska game that he really got some deflections, some rebounds. That it was more than just shooting. There have been times where he's made a couple of threes, but then you're watching him on defense. You're like, oh, he's probably giving back more than he's even getting with his 3-point jumper. That wasn't the case today. And yeah, he's someone that's battled through some injuries, and now he feels healthy and is ready to help you and play. So credit to him too.
All right. Thanks to all the 500 plus people that are watching on the live YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, subscribe to us, hit the notification bell if you would. We appreciate all your guys' support. We'll get to some of your questions here coming up. I feel like we haven't talked enough about just Marcus Domask. We mentioned the numbers there, Derek, but Morehead State was trying to get the ball out of his hands. He again struggled to score early on, just not converting around the rim. Some of their length and size seemed to bother him a little bit, but he took what they gave him. And he had, 6 assists in the first half, 10 assists overall, 2 turnovers in this game. And he really gave great effort on the defensive glass with 10 defensive rebounds tonight. Just 5 of 14 shooting and 3 of 10 from 2, but he made 2 big 3-pointers, helped him get that triple-double. What did you make of the 5th triple-double in Illinois history, 10th in NCAA history?
He's been flirting with it the last couple of games. He was doing so at the Big Ten tournament, really upping that activity on the glass. I remember earlier in the season, there were a couple of times where Brad would challenge him for not grabbing more rebounds. And now he's in that 6 up to 10, obviously, range to be able to go to the glass and help prevent off, second chance opportunities and whatnot. And the passing has been something that if you're going to double him, that's going to play into what Illinois wants to do, is him move the ball out of that. I think he has made good decisions with it. I know that he gets his pocket picked here and there because he's not a natural one, but that was a big asset that he brought to this team. Watching his game at SIU, he's like a 4.5 assists per game type of guy, and now he's got more weapons around him. So that even highlights that even further. And yeah, he did struggle to convert at the rim, but as Illinois was building that momentum, he helped put the finishing touches on that thing in the second half and making those threes. And imagine it'll just allow him to get more comfortable going into Saturday's game as well as far as the scoring. That is kind of the tough thing with Illinois, is that if you're going to try to take Marcus away with the booty ball, they can pass out of it and go different options with Dain's playing. But yeah, a triple-double in the NCAA tournament is I've seen people in the comments say only 10th time it's happened. I imagine since they've been tracking all those stats. So that's big time. That's big time out of a guy that we always land back here, but I can't help but say it when he puts this up in the tournament. What a grand slam in the portal he was. Unbelievable get for him and by Illinois to get him, and just continues to pay his dividends.
There's no better return on investment in the transfer portal than Marcus Domask. There might be some guys that, Caleb Love had a phenomenal year. The return on investment Illinois got from him is top notch. All right, Derek. Illinois moves into the second round, and this has been the bugaboo for Brad Underwood is not getting through this game. But we've talked about this. They could use some bracket help. and get some draw help. And they had maybe a little bit of a break earlier today. They get to maybe take advantage of it. As 11 seed Duquesne upsets number 6 seed BYU. Everyone was so nervous about BYU being a top 20 KenPom team, being a top 20 net team. Well, you don't have to play them. You play Duquesne, who's 80th around there in KenPom, 80th in the net, but they are red hot. They have won 9 straight, including 4 in the Atlantic 10 tournament to get to the NCAA tournament, and then they upset a team from the Big 12 in BYU. We got to watch the game, Duquesne against BYU. They get into people, Derek. They force turnovers. They are really good defensively, but offensively, I thought Morehead State was a far better team. Can Duquesne score with Illinois? That is my big question. But they will get into Illinois. They got some good guards. They're smaller guards, but I think they're going to try and make Shannon, Marcus Domask, and Ty Rogers really, really uncomfortable with that. But I really like Illinois in this matchup just because I can't see this game being in the 60s. I just think Illinois' offense is too good for that.
I agree with you. It will take Duquesne really punking Illinois in some of the effort areas as far as loose balls, rebounds, and then, of course, turning defense into offense. If they can really get into them and make them uncomfortable and turn them over and then be able to get out and go. So they're a scrappy team, a good defensive team, top 50 in the country, defensive efficiency, and good at turning you over. Their ball pressure in the backcourt is going to be something that can extend you out and get into you. Jimmy Clark's a guy as a point guard that is top 10 in the country in steals this year, and he had 4 today against BYU. We saw one of the more productive offensive teams in BYU just kind of lay an egg, and I'm not saying that was all Duquesne's doing. BYU, I think, would tell you that they also just didn't make shots or didn't get into their stuff enough. But yeah, I think it is a nice break. You're being rewarded for earning that 3 seed where you got a chance to. I know people are going to complain about BYU, especially if Illinois lost to them, and seeing the fact that they're above you in the net and whatnot. But getting an 11 seed who's down there in KenPom is a lot different than if you're a 4 getting a 5, or even a 5 getting even getting a 12. Sometimes that could be tough to get after pulling an upset. So it's kind of what I come back to is you're rewarded from the path that you put ahead of you. And if Illinois brings it, I just don't see how, like you said, Duquesne scores with you. But you do need to be up to the challenge with the intensity part of it. They'll try to punk you, and then also it will challenge the ball toughness and Illinois' ability to take care of it.
Yeah, Duquesne's a solid 3-point shooting team, about 34% from 3 so far this season. It's the turnovers that you worry about. You got to be able to take care of the ball, and I imagine Duquesne is just going to amp up the pressure. So Derek, my big question for this team is you can't come in like we're talking like Illinois should have a huge advantage in this game. It's on paper they should have a huge advantage, but you can't come in thinking that. You can't come in and give them a 9-point lead and have to make that up for the next 20 minutes. That's still the concern about this team is are they going to bring it from the tip? So what do you think Brad Underwood has to do? He was joking about maybe I got to give a better pregame speech. Maybe I got to have him bouncing off the ceiling. I do think even Ty Rogers didn't have a good game. I thought he came out with energy today. Shannon came out like, I'm going to win this game. And he really lifted his team to get him back into it. But the other guys, they got to bring it from the start. Otherwise, Duquesne gets confidence just like Morehead State got confidence. And Duquesne's a little bit better of a team overall this season than Morehead State. They play at a higher level of competition than Morehead State. So I kind of like the matchup just because of Duquesne's offensive struggles. But defensively, they're far better than Morehead State.
No doubt. Yeah, I think it is something where the intensity on the glass especially, it felt like Illinois was just leaving the ball out there a lot of times, even if they're boxing out, just not going to secure the rebound early in this game. And I know that there are differences, and admittedly I need to dive in more as far as what Duquesne's going to run offensively, but you do have to be dialed into getting through screens and being able to cover those things up, understanding scouting reports, not having errors there. But yeah, I would kind of start with just not allowing them to go get those second chance opportunities, not getting out hustled, not allowing sometimes as far as getting stops, being sound enough offensively to not give turnovers to allow them to run out. Sometimes your best defense against a team that thrives on turnovers is not turning it over, is not allowing them to get out and run by being sloppy and whatnot. So it's going to be understanding how Duquesne's going to try to make you uncomfortable, how they're going to be able to try to pick your pocket and whatnot, put pressure on you, and how do you game plan against that? How do you go help give Marcus some reinforcements when he's getting pressure deep in the backcourt? How do you ease some of those type of things? So they're going to have to be up for that, and just know that it's a team that has momentum rolling. Their coach is about ready to retire. And they got nothing to lose. The pressure's on Illinois. So
Yep.
I think that's something you got to just really understand and know that they're the only thing standing in your way between Illinois snapping this long streak, which I know it means less to the players than it does to everybody on the outside because they haven't gone through the 19 years without one. But going to Boston and being one more step closer to the ultimate goal, which is the Final Four and whatnot, that's there for the taking if you can take this team seriously, if you can play up to your potential, and if that happens and you have the right mentality and effort about you, I'd imagine Illinois wins a lot more. I don't know if it's 80% of the time or whatnot. They should definitely take care of this team though.
Yeah, like this is I tweeted before the game. This is the best path they've ever had in Brad Underwood's time to get to a Sweet 16. Like Loyola was a top 10 Ken Pom team. That was difficult. You were a 1 seed then, but this is the best path. Now you got to show up. And for about 20 minutes, you had questions about whether Illinois had actually showed up and whether they might actually go home early. But they showed up in that second half. And if they bring that, Derek, we'll be heading to Boston. We'll be shipping up to Boston next week, and I would look forward to that. All right, let's get to some people's questions here before we wrap up and get to work and get writing and get something to eat here in this fine town of Omaha. If you want to send those questions in, we'll get to some of them as we go along here. Derek, St. Dom, he said the portal's crazy, but I did not think Damask was going to be this good.
I mean, I don't know that they even knew all the production that he was going to get. They knew he was a really good player. They loved him. They saw, as we talked about before, some Thomas walk up in him. But it's just been something that he was very, very productive, accomplished scorer at the Missouri Valley level. To his credit, I mean, the thing that's kind of surprising is like he looks like this isn't a different level for him. He looks like the same type of impactful player. He's actually even more efficient. Some of that is obviously having better pieces around him, having a Terrence Shannon to take some pressure off of him, having an offensive scheme that's been built around his strengths and his abilities. So he's been unbelievable. Like you said, like the bang for the buck that you got out of him is unreal. No, he did not get $500,000 according to reports from the Wisconsin State Journal or wherever the heck that was.
I mean, he should have.
He's worth it.
He
He's
should
worth
have.
it.
Wasn't even close to that. That's why we're talking about return on investment. He didn't.
I know.
He wasn't. He probably should have been in the portal a little bit longer and driven up his price.
Yeah. Well, we've been over this, the decisive move by Illinois to not mess around and go after what might have been a sexier name out there in the portal or whatnot. They went all gas on that and made sure he didn't visit anywhere else, and putting him in an Illinois uniform is a big reason why you're here.
Shout out Mark, man, $20 super chat here. The versatility of this team gives them a chance to go deep in the tournament. Great coverage as always, gentlemen. Grab a cold one while you watch more games tonight. Looking forward to that. I might stick around and watch Iowa State just to see what they look like. But versatility, Derek, answers, options. That's what makes this team different. The fact that, one of these games, Quincy's going to be big, right? Because you can be that versatile. He's, athletic, all of those things. But you could go to Dain, or you can go to Luke Goody, or you can go to Gibbs Lawhorn. Those options, that versatility is huge. That you can play several ways.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've talked about it before, but it makes you more matchup proof. Thinking back to the Loyola game, when you take away Iowa and ball screen, and they didn't have really good punch after that. So this team can hurt you in a number of different ways. As we talked about, Damask in the booty ball, Shannon in the open court, Dain on the block. And just I feel like the guys around the star and Shannon, if you want to start, even if you want to say stars and Damask, are more multidimensional. Like I felt like the 22 team, smaller backcourt with Trent for as good as he was, Plummer, but even some of those other pieces like Grandison, like DeMonte, they really could only bring one thing to the table offensively. Whether there's a lot of those guys spot up shooters, didn't do much off the dribble. There's more to this roster as far as that goes, and just the versatility of lineups to play big if you want, to play a little bit more smaller with more spacing if you want, at Coleman at the 5. So there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Court, $10 super chat. Appreciate you, Court. He says, thank you guys for all you do. Appreciate you, Court, for the support. You are especially important for us transplant spread out across the country. That's what we want to do, man. We want to make sure you guys get the coverage of your best teams. But wondering if you can talk about the masterclass adjustments Brad made in the second half. Look at this, Derek. Brad Underwood getting credit for adjustments. I mean, I thought I was playing Dain. I looked at you at halftime like, do you start Dain in the second half? Because it's the Dain game. But also just rolling with Luke Goody, sitting Justin Harmon, Quincy Guerrier, and Ty Rodgers on the bench. But you see anything else schematically that was a huge adjustment for Brad?
I have to watch it back. I did feel like they just did a better job of contesting minutes around the basket. I think that helped of having Dain and Coleman there near the paint. So
minutes 4 of 11 from 2 tonight. So he was cooking from 3, and he got to the free throw line 4 times. But he's a really good player. But they did really well in the paint area.
Yeah, I mean, when he's making those Tim Duncan bank shots, I'm like, oh boy, this is tough. But yeah, it was. I think it was also playing those lineups. It seemed like Quincy just didn't deserve to be out there. Ty was really struggling. So being able to pull that ripcord and go with the guys that changed the game, and Dain and Luke, and I thought it was an adjustment to put DGL out there late in the first half. We've seen Harmon really be the guy that, at one point he kind of was your sixth man, and also just your first real answer at guard off the bench. Now Harmon's really continued to leave more to be desired, and maybe it is DGL coming on here to take those minutes too. So I thought that was another adjustment, a pivot away from what Brad had usually been doing that worked.
Yeah, Fox the River says DGL has got to be happy with making an impact in the tourney. If you didn't read Joey's piece about the freshman, go ahead and go read that on our site right now, because great quotes from DGL, who's admitted, like, he's wondering what the heck's going on. Like, Amani seemed to know. Again, Joey's piece is great, but Amani seemed to understand what he was signing up for. I think Dre thought he was going to play a bigger role and didn't kind of understand those things, but he's bought into the process now, and now he's being rewarded for it, Derek. And to be honest with you, he's playing better than Justin Harmon over the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's starting to steal playing time from a senior who's played big for a lot of the season, but has really struggled here down the stretch. He's giving more defensively, which is the biggest thing, but he's making some shots. And Justin Harmon's got 1 field goal, I believe, over the last 6 games. So, again, just having that option ready, that for Dain to be ready, for Luke, who was in a really big funk and had that knee injury, like, to be ready for the moment. That's a credit to the staff of communicating with those guys, but it's also credit to those players for persevering through some adversity earlier in the year.
Absolutely. Yeah, DGL's a guy that, I mean, he's played with spotlight on him before, coming up as a highly touted recruit, and someone that played overtime elite and played in the UIBL. And I think that's he's just been known as kind of that real gritty competitor that isn't going to be backing down from anybody. Even in the flashes that we've seen of him, it hasn't looked like a guy that's been scared. Maybe someone that's been a little too amped up or a little too aggressive. It's just he had to buy his time and learn and work. And to his credit, he has. And I also say, I mean, just the fact that there's been a lot of noise around him, and admittedly, his mom hasn't helped that. Like, I'll just say it flat out. With social media and whatnot, has not necessarily alleviated any of that, and he's been mature about it as far as that we can tell. And for him to be in the proper mindset at this point in the year to go out there and do what he did, that's certainly something that you like for now, and you like seeing those flashes for what he could become too, going into the future.
And I'll be honest, like, with Frank, like, we talk about guys like when the offseason comes around, was Dane Danger a part of the future? Was Dre Gibbs Lawhorn a part of the future? Like, was he bought? I know the staff thought so, but like, are these guys bought in after maybe not playing as much time? I want Dain Danger back. I want Dre Gibbs Lawhorn back, and I think Dre
Right.
is got to be feeling better about Illinois and where he's at. So start thinking about the future, even though you're in the middle of this run, and this is huge right now. But I think these moments for these guys are big, and I think just their mindset says that they can have a future here at Illinois and make a huge impact on this program now and in the future. Another super chat coming in. Thank you guys are awesome. Blue Sky, love the coverage podcast after every game. Let's hope Illini go all the way. Man, they look pretty good. They look pretty good doing this. Chris asks, how does the coaching staff get Harmon going? I think you got to give him confidence, Derek. He just looks like a guy that doesn't have confidence right now.
Right, and that's a hard thing to do because to get confidence, you probably got to play him. And if he's struggling right now and DGL's coming on, or if you want to kind of play bigger with Dane and Coleman, that's a tougher thing to kind of handle. So it might just take some conversations and seeing if you can just have a light bulb come on and practice, or maybe you are up big on Duquesne on Saturday and you're able to roll him out there, let him make a couple of shots and see if that is something that can really click back into place. I mean, he's an older guy. I don't think he's completely going to question all that's led up to this. I mean, he's a guy that has made some clutch plays, and but he's in a rut. He's in a big rut, and I'm sure it's tough on him. But if I were in those meetings or imagining what things are going to be said, it's probably going to be try to get out of it with defense, because we know that he can be a guy that gets his hand on the ball, that can dive on the floor, do some of those things that might spark you, and maybe that's how it happens. Let Brad try to take him out for making mistakes, for playing too hard or whatnot, versus just being someone that's non-existent out there, because frankly that's kind of been what's happened too often here of late.
Yeah, I still think he can make an impact on this run. I really do at some point. Fly, line, I fly. Don't want to make negative feelings for no reason, but I truly feel this way. If we lose to Duquesne, it's worser than Loyola. What do you think, Derek? A 1 seed losing to 8 seed Loyola, who's top 10 in the Ken Palm, or losing to Duquesne? We got the negative feelings, right? The Illini fans with the negative thoughts out there. I feel good about this matchup, but what would you think of that scenario? Would it be worse than losing as a 1 seed to an 8 seed?
It's hard to say. I know analytically, yes, it would be worse. When you look at the Ken Palm and you look at Loyola where they were, I mean, it wasn't just like Loyola beats Illinois and then all of a sudden they're top 10. Like that's where they were on the season. So Ken Palm would say if you lose to Duquesne, where are they at right now? They're 80th right now. That would be a worse loss. That would be a worse loss. And I think also this would really mess with the psyche of Illini fans, where it's like, if this is the path that plays out, where to snap this streak, you had 14 seed Morehead State and 11 seed Duquesne, you still can't get there. Like that would sting something crazy. But
I think the Loyola loss would make this loss way even worse. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think so either. Yeah, maybe I'm overconfident in them, but I just think the talent here for Illinois, the answers we're talking about, over 40 minutes. Like I can see Illinois having a rough go at certain points if they get turnover prone, but I just think that the talent's going to be pretty overwhelming in this game, and obviously we'll cover that, and they got to show up. We talked about it over and over again, but what would it mean for Illinois, Derek, to beat Duquesne on Saturday, which I don't think we've gotten the time yet. I'm imagining it's early afternoon, but if they're able to get through and get to the Sweet 16, what would that mean for Brad Underwood in this program?
Monkey off the back moment for the program, for the fan base, for the head coach. Just won a lot of regular season games, had a lot of Big Ten success, put some banners up there, but needs that breakthrough. It's something that it continues to come. The conversation has always continued to come back to, and admittedly for good reason. Not saying there's that balance. It's nuance is okay to say, hey, all right, the regular season has been great, the breakthroughs, the milestones of the Big Ten championships and whatnot, but also this program needs more in March. The teams have been good enough to go on runs, so it's what people have constantly come back to. And if you break through I'm not saying that it stops there. Then you'll say, okay, they're probably a better team on paper, at least in terms of talent, than Iowa State. If that's who they're playing, they're probably a more talented team. Can they get to the Elite Eight and play UConn, assuming that's what's going to be? And can they really reach that ceiling that we forecasted? As they've showed their high points and whatnot. So, but getting to the Sweet 16, having another week to just enjoy the tournament, really start to think and dream bigger. Like if you're at that point, you're 2 steps away, 2 wins away from going to the Final Four. And
TB's already booking his hotel in Phoenix. Apparently,
yeah, there we go.
Said was the preferred hotel for Phoenix. So good vibes
on the national stage, right? It puts you more in the national conversation, and great for recruiting. And I don't know, it'd mean a lot. It would mean a lot.
I agree with that. It's national stage. You get that. So finally they break through. Oh, this program's been really good for a while. And oh, look how good these players are. Look how good the development is. That's phenomenal for them. Michael, $10 super chat. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Hate to say it, but I think it's too late to get Harmon's confidence back at this time of year. Yeah, Derek kind of mentioned. I think it is. And that's why I think you flipped that DGL. But I still think you're going to give Harmon opportunities. I think the leash is shortened here significantly for him. Derek, as we move forward. I want to get to one topic we haven't hit on yet on this podcast. Joe asked, could Illinois put Shannon's jersey in the rafters after he's cheated out of first or second team All-American? I think I've seen 2 or 3 of them come out. I think he was a third team All-American. To get your jersey in the rafters, you have to be a consensus first or second teamer. Doesn't seem like he's going to get there. He is. He should be. He should be a first or second team All-American. Nobody has played better in the last month and a half than Terrence Shannon Jr. in the country. No one has. So people felt uncomfortable voting for a guy that currently is undergoing a trial for charge for rape, right? And I can understand those feelings for people who maybe don't know all of that stuff that happened, or we don't know what happened, but we vote for basketball. I'm a basketball reporter. Yes, we got to report on some of these things, but I can't make that judgment call of whether he should or should not be available for these honors. So unless the NABC or the AP tells me I can't vote for Terrence Shannon because of a pending legal charge, I don't know how you can deny that he deserves to be a first or second team All-American. He's on the basketball court. I would argue maybe only 1 or 2 guys have had a better season than him, and that's Zach Edey at Purdue, Dalton Connect, Jamal Shad. Like, there's very short list. He should be on a first-team All-American list. At the worst, second-team All-American. But Derek, can Illinois do it? I said, could they find a new way to put this on? Would be 2-time first-team All-Big Ten, because I don't think there's guys that are All-Americans that usually get 2-time first-team All-Big Ten. But by the current rules, they don't. And we'll see what happens here moving forward, what happens at the trial. But he's one of the Illini all-time greats, but doesn't seem like he's going to have his jersey hanging in the rafters based on this current criteria.
Yeah, no, that's all well said. I think that we've talked about it on one of the drives on the road trip, that maybe it is a 2-time first team all conference that is still you're not opening the door to too many guys. You don't want – look, there have been a lot of really good players, but you do want to kind of make it an elite tier. You want to make it exclusive as far as putting guys up there and not having 50 uniforms or whatnot. So that's something that you could work around and maybe add a different criteria to it. I don't know if you could just flat out, if you kept it and try to make an exception and say, I know that what's it called, pioneering or any kind of extraordinary impact.
Let's be honest, they could make up their own thing. They could if they really wanted to, and I'm sure some of that depends on what happens with the trial, right, in his case. So I think a lot would depend on that. But if nothing happens there, if Terrence is not found guilty, he deserves a spot there, man. He really does, because we've talked about this is one of the best single seasons in Illinois history, and he's having one of the best back-to-back seasons we've ever seen from an Illini in history of the basketball program. So for basketball reasons, he definitely deserves a spot there.
Yeah, and I wrote it at the Big Ten tournament, and I even asked you and Joey to see if it was fair. I mean, he's only added to it since then. Like, you can't logically be – if you're not having him on your All-American list, it's not about basketball. It's just flat out not about basketball. So I can't tell you that anybody out there with a vote or a publication that you have to put your name next to his because some are uncomfortable by that, and I get it. Like it's still something that is hard to wrestle with and balance out. And
because we don't know, and we may
Right.
never know.
Right. But if you're trying to make a basketball judgment, then it should be it is a no-brainer. He's easily one of the 5 best players in the country. He didn't miss like 2 months. He missed 6 games. Like it wasn't anything wild. He was a top 5 scorer in all of college basketball. One of the only 2 high major players to average 22 plus. Him and Zach Edey. And I don't know that I'd want anybody the way he's playing right now. I don't know if I'd want anybody else on my team in this tournament. I know that Zach is a monster and Dalton can go crazy too, but to me, it might be him and Edey at the very, very top. So as far as the banner, maybe you do make an exception if it is like clear as far as the not guilty ruling, if that's where it goes in the trial or whatnot, if the charges get dropped, what have you. But it will be a tough decision or just tough way to navigate it for Josh Whitman and company because everything else says his jersey belongs up there with Iowa and Kofi for sure.
Yeah. Rossamack, TSJ will just have to settle for having a day in the NBA. Starting to see him get back into that first round of some mock drafts, not all of them, but starting to see that. And boy, he's shining on a big stage here right now in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament with the first game here. And I imagine he continues to play well. 25 plus points in 11 of the last 15 games? Just ridiculous. Yeah. Like, the run he is on is unlike anything I've ever seen. I also saw somebody tweet this, 5 triple doubles in Illinois history. 6 triple doubles in Illinois history. Sorry. 4 have come in the last 4 seasons. I would assume he has 2. Coleman has 1 and Marcus Domask has 1. Pretty good talent we've been covering here lately, Derek.
I'd say, yeah. And again, like we talking about, to potentially have 3 jerseys up there, should have 3 jerseys up there of guys in that same window and All-American level players, guys going to the NBA. We remember the long streak of not having any of those, and Terrence and Coleman could both get drafted, join Iowa in the league, and the Sweet 16 needs to be added to that. I mean, and heck, for as long as Illinois has been away from the Sweet 16, it's pretty much like discovering new territory. Is that not pioneering? Can we say that Terrence led him to the Sweet 16, a land forgotten, and he's a pioneer?
Somebody send that to Josh Whitman. We got to figure it out. All right. We appreciate all the 600 plus that have been on this live YouTube. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, subscribe to us, hit the notifications bell on the way out. Derek Piper and I got it right. Joey's already busy banging on another banger. He's had a lot of good ones here. Derek's had great coverage throughout this. Michael Tulip will do a film room with us tomorrow, breaking down Duquesne. So we'll have that up for you at some point tomorrow. We got plenty more coverage coming from Omaha and potentially beyond if Illinois is able to take care of Duquesne and head to Boston next week. For Derek Piper, I'm Jeremy Werner. Thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review wherever you get your podcasts. Everybody have a great night. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Illini Inquirer podcast.